involvement, and it does not confer to a vascular territory. This is important. Parvovirus B19 usually is a transient infection. The overall prognosis is also good. So there is good restoration of the function after recovery. And in herpes simplex, this is the basal septum, the androseptum which is affected. Can you see it here? The septum between the LV and the RV which is affected. That does not have a very good prognosis. So again, pre and post contrast images for herpes simplex infection can tell us, and prognosis not very common. There is long-term cardiomyopathy with herpes simplex 6.
Has it come for a block and everything?
Yes.
Because the
septum gets affected, so it will affect the AV node also. But it is not necessary that these are the only territories. It can happen anywhere. Viral myocarditis. It could be patchy also at times. So, how will you differentiate infarct from myocarditis? You see infarct, subendocardial. In myocarditis, subepicardial. This pattern is important. Now, sarcoid. We come to sarcoid myocarditis. 5% of patients clinically have cardiac involvement, but autopsy suggests 25% patients have cardiac involvement. Endomyocardial biopsy is diagnostic, but again the same problems of sampling errors and again diagnostic errors. It is important to diagnose because you have good response with steroid therapy in that case. So how best to diagnose this? Again, delayed enhancement patterns. Delayed enhancement patterns were found to be in all cases. In a study of 10 patients, all 10 patients had abnormal enhancement on MRI, but only 2 out of 10 on gallium and only 5 out of 10 on thallium. So you can see that the sensitivity is far better with MRI than even with a PET scan. So therefore, this just highlights the importance of MRI over even other nuclear investigations. So in cardiac sarcoid, you exactly have a negative cardiac cath. You have a non-ischemic pattern, and what we'll have is there are diagnostic criteria. I am not going to diagnostic criteria of sarcoid, but you have to see those things also, like a non-caseating granuloma, mediastinal lymphadenopathy, etc. and AC levels. But here you will have patterns of late enhancement which increases adverse outcomes. With presence of late enhancement, there is a 9 times higher risk of MACE and 11.5 times higher risk of death. What is the kind of hyperenhancement? It is patchy and multifocal. You did not have patchy and multifocal in rest of the cases, but here it is patchy and multifocal. So you will see multiple spots where you can see hyperenhancement on late gadolinium. You can actually type which segment has how much amount of contrast using the same charting. Androseptum and lateral basal portions are more affected, same as in viral myocarditis. But we will have multiple spots affected. That is important.
It's a focal disease.
Focal disease. And the pattern would also be mid-myocardial or epicardial, not a subendocardial.
Only same story with the
Yes,
yeah,
similar pattern. And even aneurysm formations are known to occur, usually in the basal lateral region. So there is focal aneurysms, multiple involvements, patchy thickening, and you will have features of diastolic dysfunction, systolic dysfunction, and that is how you diagnose sarcoid. Again, at the same MRI, you will be able to see this mediastinal lymph nodes also. Arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy. So you have 5 minutes. Arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy. Here it is usually difficult to differentiate, but MRI can help. There are various clinical and ECG criteria also. We are not going to those details. Only come to a lot of them have ECG abnormalities. There is VT with LVDP pattern, risk of sudden cardiac death. We are not going to more details. We only focus on the MRI. This is important. There is a triangle of dysplasia: RA, RV dilatation, RV dysfunction, RVOD dilatation. So RA, RV and PA, this 3 in a triangular shape get dilated and dysfunctional. That is what is classical. And secondly, there is intramyocardial fat deposition. The myocardium, the muscle tissue gets replaced with fat, and that is very well visualized on MRI. That is how you help in diagnosis of ARVC. So again, there would be areas of localized dyskinesis, localized aneurysmal bulges, and there would be dilatation of the deposition initially the sensitivity is quite less, 25 to 65, but the specificity is quite good in that particular situation. Not going to do studies. Most of the patients would be diagnosed, would be able to diagnose on the basis of MRI. Cine imaging can help. You don't exactly need a late enhancement in this particular pattern, but you can always see dilatation, abnormal wall motion, dyskinesia, ballooning, etc., and small aneurysms. So you can see small aneurysm here of the right ventricle. And of course, it is far more dilated compared to the left ventricle. There can be delayed enhancement. Delayed enhancement will also have, there is a task force criteria. We will not go into more details, but no non-ARVD patients showed delayed enhancement. So it helps in differentiation of the RV. If RV shows late enhancement, then definitely it is ARVC. Not going to more details now. I just quickly come to the other patterns. Hemochromatosis, we'll see non-compaction and endomyocardial fibrosis. Just 2-3 situations. Let me just wind up there. Hemochromatosis, again abnormal iron deposition in the heart and liver and other tissues. Again you can have it primary and secondary. There is impaired cardiac function, and you will see abnormal signal intensity in the other organs also. Other organs can also get affected. There is ineffective erythropoiesis, and we will not go into more details of this. If you see the MRI pattern, it helps in differentiation based on abnormal signal burden of the iron burden. The iron which is staying the myocardium, that can be picked up. So if you can see here, there are patchy areas of hypoenhancement. The iron pattern will be seen like that. I'll show some more images. If you see patchy affection, some small patches, that is the myocardial iron burden which can be seen on MRI, and in a clinical situation where you also see similar lesions in the liver, pancreas, that is how it helps you differentiate hemochromatosis. So it is a dilated cardiomyopathy but can present as restrictive also, and there would be abnormal signal intensity in the heart, liver and other organs. So there is a decreased signal intensity that helps us differentiate hemochromatosis. In all others you have a hyper enhancement, here it's a reduced signal intensity. Non-compaction, again it's a congenital problem. It is often familial, can be sporadic. Basically the ventricle, the left ventricle in embryonic stage is trabeculated. It becomes compact when it turns to adult. Failure of formation of this compact myocardium is called a non-compaction. There is a high risk of stroke and arrhythmias. How do you diagnose that? There is a trabecular portion and there is a compact portion. You will be able to see those trabeculae, and in between there are recesses which are filled with blood. If the ratio of this trabeculated portion is more than 2 times the compact portion, that is diagnostic of non-compaction. It can be localized, it can be diffused. Recently we diagnosed the case of non-compaction at 52 years of age. Patient presented with cardiomyopathy, angiogram normal, and MRI showed this non-compaction. She is on amiodarone. Arrhythmia risk is quite high and she is doing okay, at least 2-3 months are done. So these are the types of recesses that you will be able to see. You will be able to very classically see the trabecular portion. Most of the patients have abnormal ECGs, have exertional dyspnea, classical features of dilated cardiomyopathies are seen. And survival is quite good, 97% at 46 months. And only 20% have NSVTs. We will not go into more details of non-compaction, but the risk of arrhythmia and sudden death and embolic events is quite high. We come to now endomyocardial fibrosis. 2 types of patterns, tropical and non-tropical. There is peripheral eosinophilia in blood, more than 10 to 12%. Tropical portions of Africa, Latin America and Asia are most affected. In India, Kerala is the very common, the state where you have it very common. Here we have an abnormal intense fibrotic thickening. So same enhancement will be seen at the apex and subvalvular regions of one or both ventricles. So here the pattern will tell you, it is just below the valves and at the apex. That helps you differentiate endomyocardial fibrosis compared to other. So if you see that there will be a pattern of hyperenhancement near the valve and near the apex. This is how you can see it. Loeffler syndrome is associated with peripheral eosinophilia. There will be again apical formation. You have thrombus formations and stroke risk in such cases. It is rapidly progressive and you have to actually operate such cases. But even steroids and immunosuppressants are useful. So, same the apical pattern of hyperenhancement can be seen. It actually looks like a mass sometimes, and it is usually diagnosed as a mass on echo. You do an MRI, it turns out to be EMF. So, using the standard patterns of cine imaging and gadolinium enhancement, you can differentiate various types of cardiomyopathies using the pattern recognition. It is all about pattern recognition. With that, you can look in particular direction, maybe probe further, diagnose, do confirmatory tests, and you might be able to find a lot of cases which are actually treatable, like say sarcoid or Fabry's disease. So it is look for pattern recognition, differentiate between ischemic and non-ischemic. In ischemic, subendocardial, non-ischemic, no enhancement or mid-myocardial, myocarditis, epicardial, those are the various patterns that we see. So non-ischemic, mid-myocardial, this is just a small recapitulation. In hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, uniform thickening or asymmetry or apical variants and late gadolinium enhancement suggests poor prognosis. Mid-wall pattern, again basal infralateral wall in 92% cases with HCM, diagnosis of Fabry's disease. In myocarditis, subepicardial portion gets affected. If it is parvovirus, more of lateral wall. If it is HSV, more of septum.
Any software
What?
See, software will determine the patterns.
Yes.
See, now you told me that there are 10, 12 types of patterns.
Yes.
So when you do the MRI, the software will be there. They say that this kind of pattern is there, sir, and hence likelihood of these things.
So I am not aware of the software, but these are visual recognitions.
No.
I understand that.
See, now later what is going out is a day is coming of software. It's a pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition. Sorry, I am not aware of those software.
See, because remembering all the things, like revision is extremely difficult. Right? If the software is there, that will be the answer.
Whether anyone is supposed to report this properly. Anyways, in amyloid there will be uniform thickening, in sarcoid there would be patchy thickening, ARBC more of RV dilatation and aneurysm. We will not do more. Can you just diagnose 4 or 5 cases? Nicholas, what is this? Just 4 or 5 to recap, whether we have understood everything. Yes, put up there.
Then software I
This is subendocardial.
This is subendocardial. This is ischemic. And you can see a vascular tract, mid-distal septum, apex, apical anterior wall. This is LAD infarct. What is this? So this is mid-myocardial. On both sides you can see reduced signal intensity. This is non-ischemic cardiomyopathy. What is this? To differentiate, I have put this one together. This is epicardial and lateral wall. So this is viral myocarditis. This one, patchy wall, sarcoidosis. This one, the whole thickness and diffuse pattern. This is amyloidosis. No, sir, this is just a recap. Thank you.